You're going to need rooting hormone, a pair of scissors, some water, and a 6-pack that's been cleaned and washed, a tray that's been cleaned and washed. And then I use seed starter mix. It's sterile, there's no diseases in it. You need a pencil to punch a hole in the center of each one of these to put the cutting. You can see that even though it's soaked overnight, it's still a little dry in the center. And the reason you punch a hole in it is when you take a cutting and dip it in water and dip it in the rooting hormone and shake it off any excess, when you put it in the hole, it won't rub off the rooting hormone. If this was the cutting and you had rooting hormone on the end and you pushed it into soil, it would wipe it all off. So you have a hole to put it in. If you spin your little pencil, sometimes it'll clear out all the little place that might be dry. Like that. So now we'll go get some cuttings. Now these are our large azaleas that have finished flowering, and here's the new growth from where it flowered. And see, this looks like a green bean. It has a texture of a green bean. That's real easy to see. You don't use the woody part, it won't grow roots. You have to use the green part that just grew, because it's trying to grow, so all the hormones are telling this to grow. And if you put rooting hormone in it and put it in a proper container, since it wants to grow anyway, it will grow roots. These are easy to see. I want to show it to you on regular azaleas. See, this is a regular azalea, and you see some growth, but it's not enough to take a cutting. See, it's just some growing on the tips. That one, if it was maybe an inch longer, it would be perfect. But see, there's not as many out here to pick on this. Now that would work. See how that's like as long as my finger. We'll keep looking. And see, these are about as long as my finger. So I could take all 3 of those and that one, or I could take 5 off of this one plant, this one shoot, or I could take 1 off of 5, 6 different azaleas. Well, it's hard for me to cut those, hold the cup that I'm going to put them in, and hold the camera. Back in a minute. And I chose to take 3 of them. And I think I'll take 2 of these. When I wet them down, I had to walk in the yard to get these, and you could see it starting to wilt because it's sitting in the sun. You want to have all this done before you take your cuttings, because they have been cut off. They're not getting any moisture, and the longer it takes, these can dry out and be dying on you. This is what that looks like after you remove the leaves. You just hold the stem and pull the leaf straight down, and they'll just pop off. And then you just put that in that, put that in that, stick it down in there and close it up. And here's the other smaller azalea. Now you got to do it times however many you want to plant. And where I just pulled off those 3 leaves will root, even without rooting hormone on it. So there's 6 dahlias and 6 azaleas. And this is the time of the year they do it, because pretty soon these stems will harden up, and once they don't look like a string bean texture and feel, you can flex them, you can't do this. On azaleas, you probably notice that you go into the big box stores and they have all these almost lost leader azaleas. They're just young plants, you know, that's big enough to sell, but they're like $1.99 or something. Well, what they've done is taken cuttings, like they've done in the South. They could have taken cuttings, you know, 2 months ago, and then they just grow those. And those cuttings are the ones you see in those little $3 small containers for azaleas. And it was just a cutting taken 8-10 months before they grow that fast. Now I took my spray bottle of just pure water and wet the leaves down because they're, it's going to take some root action before it can get any moisture. And they're getting a little bit of filtered light through here right now. But when I put the tray that belongs here back here, it will block it. So there'll be no sunlight. It's cooler down at the floor. Heat does rise, and they won't get too hot, and they will survive. I put this tray of tomato plants back here, and that blocks the sun off of that. See how the sun can't reach it, so it won't get too hot. Because if you put a cover on something and put it in the sun, it'd be like baking bread in there. It would kill them. They'd be dead in a day if sunlight came through there and hit those leaves with no roots. I mean, you would kill a healthy plant that had roots. If you put them in something with no air and let that radiate in solar energy, build a temperature up there at 140, 50 degrees. Got to think about these things.